good to see you. Last time I saw you was in 2019 in Doha, right after your race there, and which I thought was tremendous.
Yeah.
I didn't get to talk to you since the pandemic started, so I just want to kind of take our readers through that. Talk to me, when you found the Olympics were going to be canceled, what was that like for you?
It was kind of like surreal.
Yeah.
Because we didn't necessarily know how dangerous COVID was, and before like all the information came out, it was like, oh yeah, you get like symptoms were like a mild flu and blah blah blah, and it was like, yeah, COVID's like the flu, and you didn't think that people would operate the way they were operating over the flu, and then people started dying, and it was just like, whoa, like this is actually serious. So when I heard that the Olympics had been canceled, and we were at practice, and it was just like, wait, what? Like, really? Like, this is actually like happening. And I remember Coach Watts being, all right, like, you guys, we finished the workout, of course, and Coach Watts was like, you know, go home, take a couple days, and then we'll like reevaluate. And it was just a moment of like just being lost, because you know, like as athletes, you work to get to a certain point, and like the plan was the Olympics, and now you don't have a plan, you don't have an end goal in sight, and it was just like, oh, okay, like what are we doing? Like, what's the point of all this? So it was probably like a week of feeling like kind of lost, and not knowing like, all right, like what's going on. And I was like, all right, do I go home? Do I stay here? And we just ultimately decided to just keep training. We're just trying to train through. So
did you race at all in 2020?
Yeah, I did. We did one meet in Texas.
Okay. Yeah, that one with all the different events?
Yeah.
Did you do a bunch of those?
Yeah, so I did a bunch of those, but I ran the 100 seriously.
Yeah.
And that's when Michael ran 9.8 and I ran 10.03. So it was pretty eventful, pretty funny in all honesty, that we were kind of down there racing so that we don't get in trouble contractually with Nike. Like in hindsight, I'm pretty sure they probably, like looking back, like on management, like that wasn't the best option, but you know, to risk getting sick to go run some fluke meets, and it was just kind of stupid, but you do what you have to do, you know what I mean? But
hey, look, I had 2 heart surgeries because of COVID.
Oh wow!
I got it at the end of 20.
Wow.
20, got it again. Right before the World Champs.
Wow.
And I was wearing a mask. I mean, I have all my injections, all that stuff, you know.
Same. I got it too.
Yeah, I remember. You got it right before the World.
I got it right after Doha, and that had me. I was like, it got me. I was wearing my mask. I was on the plane I wore my mask. It was boosted. Had both shots, boosted, everything, and I still ended up getting it. And I remember one night I was like laying in bed, and I was like, man, like I'm ready to go, man. Like it was that bad. It was probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. Just like,
how long did it take you to come back?
It took me like almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It actually took me out, lost some weight, lost like about 6 pounds.
What did Coach Watts change your workouts and stuff?
Yeah, they did. So they were kind of concerned with me coming back, because usually some athletes did complain about having, you know, small complications sometimes. And they wanted to make sure like my lungs were fine. So they like gradually eased me into practice after that. So it took about I was locked down for about 2 weeks, and then it took a week for me to actually get back outside and like start doing stuff.
Where did you open up in 2021 in the hurdles?
Japan. Yeah, it's Japan. Wait, no. Mount Sac.
Mount Sac. Okay.
Yeah, it was Mount Sac.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry.
How did that feel?
It felt really good, actually. Mount Sac was. I went in not knowing like what really. I know I was in shape.
Yeah.
I didn't know how fast I was gonna run, but I ended up running like 47, something like 47.1 or something.
Yeah, you flew, man.
Yeah. So I was feeling really good. Went in, ran a good race, and I felt really good because I've never opened up that early.
Yeah.
But so that was like really, really like gave me a big boost in confidence, knowing like, okay, like we're right there, like we're doing all the right things. So that was pretty good.
You and Mike trained together.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, you don't?
Yeah, we do, but we don't. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay.
Like he's there, we're there at practice, but he's running 100 now.
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah, I forgot, yeah.
I'm still up there in the fours. So
Are you enjoying the hurdles?
yeah, I definitely do.
Do you do other events just to kind of give
Just
you
to
a
help
variety?
it? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's nice to like switch it up and not do one thing all the time.
Ever get to see you do the 800?
No, never, ever, ever.
Because you know it's like
Never.
when Edwin was running, him and Harold Schmidt would do this thing,
Yeah.
right? You know, and you know, Edwin would run the 4x4, of
Yeah.
course, and you fantastic. But he would do the 800.
Yeah.
And he ran a 144 point. Harold Schmidt, pretty
Yeah.
damn close too. And I always love to tease the hurdlers about
Yeah,
that, and they just
no.
look at me and like, you know, because I think the 400 hurdles is so much tougher than the 800.
Really?
I also think it's the sadist race.
I think training, because I mean, like I worked out with Isaiah Jewett
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
a little bit this year,
What a
and
animal.
man, it's just I can sustain that.
Yeah.
But it also goes to show like how different of an athlete, you know, Edwin, those guys were. Like,
Yeah.
they were more strength based. You know, I'm more speed endurance based. And like that's a difference. But if you want to put me on a track team, you run 800, I'll make it about 500 meters, and like that's all you're gonna get, man. Like after that, it
You'd
might
be
be
good.
ugly.
I mean, I think if you, Femke Bowl, I interviewed her right before she did the 500,
Yeah.
right? And I said, okay, what do you think about the 500? She just looks at me, she goes, it's 100 meters longer than
Yeah.
my happy
Yeah.
distance. And I said, okay, so you're never gonna do the 800? She goes,
Yeah,
never.
never. It's
And
just-
but I'll tell you, she looked good over that 500,
Yeah,
man.
she did.
You know, it
She
just
did.
was. What do you like about the 400 hurdles?
I like the process of preparing for it, like and also like when you get it right and everything feels good and you run fast, that self gratification is like even better because you know you prepared for it. So
Yeah.
I like the process of preparing for the 400 hurdles and the fact that you know like it's 10 barriers that you have to. It's kind of poetic, you know, like overcoming like these obstacles, and it's like I feel like it's like kind of the epitome of life, you know, like you just kind of things are gonna come up, and how are you gonna deal with them? Is either you get over them or you don't. So yeah, I think that's kind of like I like the poetic side of it. I like preparing for it. So it's like
You are very, my observation, I mean, I'm an old coach and I
Yeah.
competed and stuff. You're one of the most competitive people I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I know you can keep it within. It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, my observation is that you leave it all on the track. When you get out there, like, are you competitive in everything that you do?
yeah, definitely.
Like board games, will you?
Yeah, I don't play board games because I'm so competitive.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I get really like, if I play a board game and I win, that's it. We're not playing again. We're not playing again
Okay,
because I'm not
okay.
going to give you the opportunity. But I don't play board games for that very reason. And but I am very competitive in everything, and it's. I think it's. I try to do it in a healthy way. 'Cause
Yeah.
sometimes like. You know, competitive people can be sore losers, but you know, sometimes you gotta learn to lose gracefully. But I am very, very competitive in just about everything. It's like,
How do you place now?
Yeah.
I don't think I could have interviewed you in Tokyo.
yeah,
How do you place that race now?
in Tokyo,
Yeah.
in terms of just
You put everything into it.
yeah, I did. I mean, it was like now looking back at it, it's no, it was heartbreaking in the moment
Yeah.
because all year we were training to run 46.2.
Yeah.
And then to go out and kind of surpass that,
Yeah.
46.1, and like not accomplish what you wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, man, it was like a slap in the face. But you know, I'm grateful for it because I think it taught me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about how much I love the sport and how much I love what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it hurt, but it was a great race.
I think it was the
great race. I think
my fellow riders call it the
greatest race ever.
greatest race ever, but also the greatest event in the Olympics. I mean, I just heard 3 guys talk about it here this week, and you know, I have replayed it and just watched it. You know, I also watched Carson almost get beat this weekend.
Yeah.
And because I was covering the European indoors.
Yeah.
And you realize that any athlete can be beat. I mean, is that? And at your level, that's the thing that I'm fascinated with. When you competed in 2019, you had some injury stuff, man. And what you did there surpassed what a lot of people thought you could do. I mean, you're incredibly talented, but you showed some real guts in that race.
Yeah.
And I thought in 2021, the anticlimax of the 2020 Olympics night, which had to just mess people up. Then you come back and you run faster than you, 46.2.
Yeah.
And what did Coach tell you afterwards? What did Quincy say to you afterwards?
It was a rough time in our camp. We've had some pretty rough championships, you know, as a camp.
Yeah.
I remember after the race, like when I was down, just kind of catching my breath, took my headband off. Like I'm looking directly at them because they're in the stands right in front of the finish line. And I just looked at them and I was like this. I just kind of just shook my head and was just like, hey man, like it's like I tried, like I really tried, and like I mean I was crying, they were crying. It was kind of rough. Like he was just like Coach Watts knew I left it all out there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were expecting me to run fast, but I don't think they were expecting me to run that fast.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of when you say you have to, when people say like you have to prepare for these things, and you did everything possible to prepare for these things. We did everything possible to prepare for it.
Yeah.
We just weren't like expecting that. And like I always tell people, like only God Himself could have came down and stopped that man that day on that track. And like we just.
Was that his perfect race either?
Hell yeah, it was.
Man, was that your perfect race, or do you think?
I think that was not my perfect race at all. I mean, I started to 3. I think I brushed 4 actually.
Yeah.
I brushed 4. So starting at 3 and brushing 4. I mean, I think I can't say if I hadn't done that, then who knows how fast would I have ran. I was healthy, I was fit, and that was the best race I could put together.
What was that like? After the last hurdle, what was that last part of the race like? Can you recall?
Yeah. I can take back a couple more hurdles.
Okay.
I remember getting off 8.
Okay.
And I got next to him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, like I'm coming. Like I was actually running really hard coming off that turn to make up that gap that I had lost on the backstretch. And I got next to him, and we get off 9, and he just surges again. And I was like, it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like it was just, because in those races, you don't get faster. No one ever gets faster in any race that requires you to go around the track. What's happening is, or any race for that matter, what's happening is some people are just decelerating at a faster rate than others. And once you understand that, and then you get in the race and you see someone like just do something that like it's like he just found something else at 450, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, in my head I go, okay, there's no way he's gonna like maintain this whatsoever. Like he's gonna start at a 10. He's gonna start at a 10. So we get off 9, and I'm like just looking, just waiting for him to stutter.
Yeah.
And we get to about 3 steps before 10, then stuttered. And as soon as we took the hurdle together, I was like, yep. I was like, yeah, I already knew 100% in my head. That's it. Like, I just knew it. And we got off, and I tried to go again, and I buckled a little bit, and I was like, man, just stand up and just finish. So that was like the last, what was that, 50 meters of the race? Yeah. So
did you know you guys were going faster?
I had no idea. I thought the clock was wrong when we saw it. I was like,
Really?
there's no way in hell.
Wow.
I thought it was at best like 46.7.
Yeah.
46.6 maybe. But I was just like, saw it was like 49. I was like, what? Like sometimes like you get done and you get like this glaring headache a little bit.
Yeah.
And your vision's a little blurred.
Yeah.
And because you're pushing your body to the point where it's like, you know, some horses will run till they die, but the human body won't let you do that. But it's like you're getting to that point where it's just like, all right, we're gonna shut you down before you actually damage what's going on. So I'm looking at the clock and I'm just like, I was like, wow, I could not believe like what the times were saying. Like it was like 3 guys under 47. It was me, Dos Santos. Dos Santos was 47.7.
Yeah. 46.7, yeah.
And I was 46.1. I mean 46.7. Sorry. Dos Santos 46.7. I was 46.1, and then Carson was like 45.9. I was like, wow, it's crazy. I can't believe that just happened. So, yeah.
How did that affect you in 2022?
I mean, like I went into the year thinking like, you know, we have to be better. I was just focused on, just probably maybe a little too focused on just beating. Like I don't think I was focused on myself as much. I was just focused on like getting back and like, you know, proving everyone wrong and like proving myself right. And my preparation for 2022 wasn't the best because I had like a lingering issue in my right hamstring that I didn't know was like how bad it was until it was time to go to USA's. So all year, like my leg, it was just bothering me, and it was like one of those things where I thought I could work through and that just subside.
Sure.
But it just kept getting bad, and I ran at Mount Sac, and that kind of irritated it, but I was able to manage it a little bit, and I go to Tokyo, and it's like still kind of there. Tokyo was kind of a bit of a weird one because like mid warm up, I just got so tired. Like it was the time difference. It got me. Like it was I was ready. It felt like it was midnight, and I was like, I want to go to bed. Actually, it was so that kind of threw me up for a loop there, getting ready to run, and then I get to Doha, and I'm feeling good. My leg's still bothering me a little bit, but I can manage. And I remember I got out. Like I was steaming. Like I felt good. It felt like I was gonna run 46 that day. The wind was like blowing like it was ridiculous out there. How windy it was. And I remember getting to hurdle 5, and if my leg could like talk to me, it'd probably be like, yo, what the hell are you doing? Like, stop right now. And it just like kind of just went like, it was like one of those moments. And then suddenly my race turned into like running confidently to like, let's just manage this. And because I didn't know if it was gonna like go or if I was gonna injure myself. So I just kind of like peeled it back a little bit. And that was it. And after the race, I remember like talking to Art, and I was like, yo man, like my leg like really hurts. Like it's actually like not getting any better. And he was just like, all right, go back to the hotel, you know, eat, shower, get some rest, get on the plane tomorrow, we'll deal with it when we get back home. And to add insult to injury, obviously I leave the next day, and I get back home on a Sunday, and I go outside on Monday, do a little shakeout, and I'm feeling like groggy. So I'm thinking like, okay, like I'm just tired, like I'm jet lagged. It was a long 16-hour flight, like I just, you know, and I get home that night, and I don't usually nap, I took a nap, and I woke up like an hour, 2 hours later, and I just knew. I was like, yep. I was like, I'm sick. Like, I just knew I was sick. Like, I felt like I had a headache, I had the chills, and I was like, I hope it's not COVID. Like, I pray to God it's not COVID. And I ended up getting a PCR test. I woke up the next morning. I went to bed. The night was horrible. It was like, I wore a hoodie. I was hot. I was cold. It was probably the worst headache I ever had in my life. Like, it was so bad that when I walked, my head hurt. Like, taking a step, my head hurt. I was super nauseous, and it was like I probably shouldn't have left my apartment. So like thinking back on it, it was like kind of stupid. So I left and I got a PCR test, and I think like lit up. It was like positive, and I probably shouldn't have drove either, because like I felt like I was like drunk driving. Like it was so bad. So I get back, and obviously like I shared the news with everyone. Like obviously apologize, because I don't know when I was. Obviously I was contagious at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone ended up being fine. My trainer was fine, Kendall was fine. They were both on the flight, but I was just the unlucky one, and I was in there for like 2 weeks. I remember the first night was rough. It was probably the hardest night, because I was just laying there, like rooms like spinning, heads like pounding, like feel nauseous, and I feel cold, and I'm hot. And I remember after I got back from getting the PCR test, like I forced myself to eat. Like it was just like a loaf of bread or something, and I broke the sweat that day. I broke the fever that day.
Yeah.
And like woke up, hoodies like drenched.
Wow.
And still felt kind of bad, but I got through the worst of it. But it was like a moment where I was like laying in bed, and I was like, man, like it's my time to go. Like I'm ready. Like it was that bad. Like it was so bad. I ended up losing like 5, 6, 7 pounds maybe, and which was low-key a blessing in disguise, because I was so heavy last year, man. Like we were lifting too much. I was lifting too much, and I got really heavy, and I just couldn't get the weight off, and like COVID just came, and like I got that weight off, like obviously the unhealthy way, but it took me 2 weeks to get back, and then 2.5, 3 weeks maybe to get back, and then it was just all kind of downhill from there, to be honest. Like I thought that was like downhill.
Yeah.
Then I get back, and now I'm still dealing. I thought my leg would have calmed down by now, but it was actually even worse. Couldn't hurdle, couldn't finish workouts, and just physically and mentally frustrated with my situation at the time. So I had to pull out of had to pull out of New York, and ended up going to Oregon the week of NCs. Ended up seeing a doctor, and he found like a tear in my tendon where it attaches to my high hamstring, where it attaches to the bone.
Yeah.
So found that, so that explained the pain I was feeling, and it was a pretty good tear. It was like holding on by. Been showing everyone in the video all week, but it was a pretty decent tear. So these two black spots right here.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, this highlighted area is like that's the bone.
Yeah.
And if you look, like everything's all connected to the bone except for these two dark spots right here.
Yeah.
So that's where the tears were, and it was like hanging on by this much tendon.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So you had surgery?
So I couldn't have any surgery, because this is like right before USA's, and so I got presented with two options: is either I get cortisone or I get PRP, and I didn't want to like further injure my leg. So I was like leaning towards the cortisone, like really asking for opinions, and ultimately my trainer and my coaches were like, no, like you're not gonna get cortisone in a tendon. That's like, like literally like red flag 101 on how to not do things. So I ended up getting PRP right above that area, and that didn't help. So actually no, what happened was after that I didn't get the PRP because USA's was a week away because it was at NCAA's. So I ended up getting a TUE from USADA to get like a really strong painkiller, and that did not help whatsoever. So I took the painkiller, I took the dose pack, and like that didn't help whatsoever. And I just was like, we're just gonna take it one run at a time at USA. So that's why I ran the round so slow in the beginning, because my races turned into not being able to run the races confidently. I was just pain managing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like I'd run to 200, and then I just kind of knew I can let everyone go, and I'll just run this last 200 and like make up whatever ground it is. Like I wasn't going out there trying to run anything ridiculous. It was just, let's just manage the race, let's make it through the rounds, and let's make the team, and then go from there. So that was my USA's. And after USA's, immediately after, the next day I drive up to Portland, get the PRP, hoping that it'll work. And now it's like, this is now an extra week of me sitting down. So I had to, my workouts were like literally to walk around the track to get that soreness out, because it's a big needle that goes through to get down there.
Yeah, someone was just explaining to me that the other day. Oh my God.
So I get that done, and now world champs are 3 weeks away at this point. So I mean, I could argue that PRP probably made my situation like slightly worse, because it was like all that needle tearing through all that muscle to get to this one spot to potentially heal it in time. Like it was kind of impossible. So World has also turned into a situation where now I'm just managing pain. And at that point, my inflammatories weren't where I was like. There was a point where I was just like, Michael probably looked at me and was just like, man, are your kidneys okay? Like, I was literally on Tylenol, taking Tylenol extra strength. I was taking Motrin, and I was taking an anti-inflammatory. And just to ease the pain enough for me to like be okay mentally going out and hurdling. And like, so I was relying on that and just the adrenaline of just being like out there with like the crowd and everything. So it was like 2 rounds of that, and like, on the final day, I remember like the gun goes off and we like get to hurdle 1, and I get over hurdle 1, and it was just like, oh my gosh, it was just like, it was a moment where it was like one of those, like it was like, and everyone, like Carson was like a bat out of hell out the gate, and I'm like looking up the field, and I'm like, yo, I'm losing this race. Like they actually were getting away from me in that race. And I started step to 3, and I'm looking up the track, and I'm like, if I started step to 4, I'm for sure, like, I'm done for at this point. And at that point, I think the crowd started going, USA, and gave me a little extra boost, and I went 12 to 4, took that hurdle with the opposite leg, not knowing. I was like, hey, is either I'm gonna fall doing this, or we're gonna clear it. So it's like a 50-50 up in the dark kind of shot, and took the hurdle and like made it over. And like after I got off hurdle 5, I was like, man, like I gotta run like hell now. So I couldn't see the field at that point, like because the sun's like glaring through the board right there. And I just remember just like I just went blank, man, and just ran the hell out of the turn. And by the time we got to the point where the sun was like blocking it a little bit, I look up and I passed Carson at that point, and Dos Santos was right there, and I was like, oh shoot, I could actually do this. And then I got off hurdle 8, and I was like, and that's where the fitness kind of came in, and where it was like I didn't have the fitness because I wasn't racing, I wasn't really practicing that much, and I wasn't hurdling, so I had nothing left in the tank. And I just kind of like I just died out there in no man's land because I just didn't have the fitness to finish the race. And it was a big surprise to me. That was probably the best medal I've ever gotten.
Wow.
Because of just the whole situation. And I was at best expecting to get third, to be honest with you. And
what are you feeling like
second,
now?
I feel really good now. I got it fixed, so that's why
You didn't have surgery, right?
So I didn't. No, I didn't. That's why I didn't run the 4x4.
Yeah,
Because like I
remember
obviously
that, yeah.
couldn't, and I wasn't gonna put those guys in a situation where they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting fixed like 2 weeks later. Went back, and then he actually like went all the way through with the needle, kind of tapped the bone, scraped the bone a little bit so it bled, so it promoted more healing.
Yeah.
And then really just shot me up with a lot of PRP, which is like, it's obviously you get your blood put in the centrifuge, it spins, take the plasma, you put the plasma in, and it promotes healing at a exponentially like high level. And so I was like sat for like 6 to 8 weeks after that, and did a lot of rehab to like re-strengthen the area, and so it's been really good now. It's been really good now. Yeah. It was a little odd in the beginning because it's like you're getting your leg back used to that moment, to that movement, and it was just like I don't know. So we started things off like very slowly and just gradually built up. So feeling pretty good now. Yeah.
What are you working out full schedule now, or are you?
Yeah, I'm on full schedule now. Yeah.
And what are your goals for 2023?
My goals for 2023 is to fit into a medium uniform.
Okay.
That's my goal. But I just want to have fun, man.
Yeah.
I want to go back out and race confidently.
Good.
And race well and just see how far I can push myself.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you're always so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
You are one of my favorite interviews. You actually are set the record this
Really?
week for the
I
story.
can talk, man. I talk
You're
a lot.
awesome. So we're with Rai Benjamin. This is Larry. You're with Rai Benjamin. He is a 400-meter hurdler. He's more than a 400-meter hurdler. And you guys know it and I know it. But thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And,